Welcome to Health Hacktivators with lifestyle medicine doctor, GP and longevity expert Dr. Alka Patel. This show will help you to discover a hidden health hacking code that unlocks your phenomenal potential for an outstanding health span, lifespan and wealth span. The show features candid conversations with celebrities, influencers and industry icons, real-life stories and cutting-edge health activating advice that other doctors might not tell you. Discover why now is the time to join the strategic self-care revolution and experience the profound effects this will have on your personal and professional success. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alka Patel.
Hi, hey, and hello, Health Hacktivators. On today's show, I have with me Lisa Allen. Now, Lisa has a super bright personality and it is matched by even brighter hair. So if you're listening to this rather than watching this, then I would urge you to just head over to my YouTube channel at Dr. Alka Patel UK just to get a glimpse of Lisa's fabulous hair. Now, Lisa is the relationship partner from the Pink Ribbon Foundation, and their mission is to support and fund breast cancer charities. She is an absolutely incredible leader in the charity industry, and she does fabulous fundraising work for this charity. So we talk about charity, of course. We talk about donation and what donation really means, what drives people to donate. And we're also talking about breast cancer and self-examination. Welcome to the show, Lisa Allen. Before we get into today's show, please do support today's show partner, Youth and Earth. Youth and Earth have a range of products that I love to use myself to supercharge my metabolism, to support my health, and to slow down cellular aging. Just be sure you click the link in the show notes for exclusive offers, which Youth and Earth are so generously giving for listeners of this show. Hello, Lisa, and a very warm welcome to you to the show today.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. Very good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Now, look, I've got to start by saying this one thing, which is that you don't know what it is yet, and you're already...
I don't know. I might. Go on.
I have to say that I love your hair. I just love your hair. But I have got a question around that, okay? Yeah. So I've got to ask you this. What came first? Was your hair always pink, and then you found Pink Ribbon Foundation, or did you find Pink Ribbon and then change your hair to match that? What came first?
No, the charity came first.
Right.
My hair has always been short and usually peroxide blonde. So I've pretty much all my life had short hair. It just suits me better. I don't have the patience, unfortunately, for long flowing locks like you have. And what it was we held our first charity event probably about 22 years ago. Mm-hmm. And for this particular event, which was during Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October, I just decided to dye the hair pink for that one evening. Okay. And then went back to blonde afterwards. And then the following year, we had the same event again at the same venue with a lot of the same people attending. And I thought, I'll do it pink again. And everyone remembered the hair. Yeah. I don't necessarily think they remembered me, but they definitely remembered the hair. They was, oh, yeah, I remember you from last year, pink hair. And I thought, you know what? This is a good little trick. Yeah. Because it was obviously very much on brand with Pink Ribbon Foundation. Yeah. People remembered the hair. It's always a talking point. Everybody wants to ask about the hair. And if you're in a social situation, that then in turn leads to opportunities to talk about the charity. Yeah. And also, like when you're meeting people for the first time in a coffee shop that's crowded, you can say to people, look out for the pink hair. Yeah. So it's visible all the time. The amount of taps on the shoulders I get from people that have spotted me from a distance, there's no hiding, put it that way.
I love that. I love that. I love the way that you've also been able to kind of utilize that, because there is pressure, isn't there, in the charity sector? I mean, you've got to be able to stand out and distinguish yourself. I think I was looking up the kind of number of charities there are, and I think in the UK is sort of over 400,000, and worldwide when you look at sort of non-profit organizations, you're hitting sort of 10 million plus. So you've got to stand out. So apart from your hair, Lisa, you are an incredible charity leader. So what is it about your personality that makes you stand out, do you think, in this field of charity?
Well, for a start with the Pink Ribbon Foundation, we are a very small team. And we literally just operate with 3 volunteer trustees. We've got Jonathan, Prince, we've got Liz, and we've got Angie. And then there's myself. So we are a small team already anyway. And I think that differentiates us between a lot of the other charities that are out there in the form of breast cancer charities. And people are always very surprised about that, because they look at the website, they look at our social media, they see the events that we're doing, the celebrities that we work with, the companies that we work with, and they just assume that we are a big, charity, offices in London, lots of staff, and they're always very surprised, pleasantly surprised, that it is run on such a shoestring, because obviously it means that more of the money that we raise goes to the good causes that we support, because we don't have those costs of rent. We all work from home. I'm at home at the moment. Right. And that was always the case even before COVID. So for instance, when COVID hit, there wasn't really a huge amount of change for us. We're not a front service charity, so we didn't have to move things online. We don't have fixed costs like rent. So, we weren't impacted by that. And for me personally, it's just, I love what I do. Obviously the hair makes me stand out. My daughter's at an age now where she's probably a little bit more embarrassed about it now. But I think if you do everything with passion, with love, I enjoy being surrounded by people. I love talking to people. I love working with the companies and the people that we work with. And I think that probably is the thing that shines through. And I think people get that from me as well.
Yeah, and it is that need to connect, isn't there? As you say, you've got to stand out, but stand out to connect, and your love of being able to talk to people and have that sense of kind of adventure and connection is incredible as well. So maybe let's look at that word charity, because there's lots of words that we use for charity. Things that come to mind are donation and contribution and philanthropy, and there's a lot that we connect with that image of charity. I did Latin at school, and one of the words that it comes from, that sort of Latin word which means very precious and very valued. So there's something around value as well with charity, isn't there? So what's your definition of charity, Lisa?
I think, charity, I think, always starts at home anyway. I think that as a statement in itself is true. I think it's about looking after people, and not just looking after your own, but looking after other people, and being mindful of them and supporting where you can and lending your skills. So it doesn't always have to be a financial donation that people give. I rely on a lot of people for their skill sets, whether that's photographers, graphic designers, people that have the skills that, because we're such a small charity, we don't have those people here working with us all the time. So I think charity really is just about doing good, being kind, being mindful, helping others, and doing it on a regular basis, not just once a year, which is great, obviously, but trying to see what charity you can support with a bit more effort, and whether that's financial effort or time effort, and finding a charity that is relevant to you and that is specific to you, that you care about. Because I think if it's a cause that you care about, you're going to want to get more involved anyway.
Yeah, for sure. So that's interesting, isn't it? That phrase that you just said, charity begins at home, because there might be people listening then that use that phraseology to think, well, then I'm not donating because I've got to think, I'm thinking about me and my immediate vicinity. And you've probably come across a whole range of people in your work as well, from, I'm not sure if I want to talk about kind of Scrooge, but maybe from Scrooge to sort of Samaritan, because there is such a range of human behavior when it comes to that act of donation, isn't there?
But I think with charity starting at home, it could be that it's something that has happened in your home that then causes you to seek to help and support other people. Many of the people that set up breast cancer charities, for instance, or support groups or wig groups, have been impacted by cancer themselves, either personally or through family members. So there's a lot of groups that we support that have had something happen in the home and then want to go and support other people because they've been through it. I do think obviously we're in tough times at the moment. You know, the economic climate is hard for many people. But it always surprises me. British people, people that live in England and the UK, just how much we can support when we want to. You look at things like Children in Need.
Yeah.
You know, they have that the television program on, and they raise millions on that one evening. And even when times have been really difficult and there's been recessions, people still want to support, and every pound really does make a difference. You know, it's exactly like Tesco say, every little helps, and it really does. And all those little amounts add up to big, huge numbers. And it's like the disaster appeal for the earthquake. You know, they've raised something like 32 million in the first day. So people, I do think, want to help and support, but I think they're also very wary about where they put their support, because if they haven't got a lot to give, they want to make sure that what they're giving goes to the right place and makes as much of a difference as possible and as much impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, touched on something really important there, is that innately human beings are a generous species. It's just within us. It's how we're driven. It is one of our core human drivers, that sort of need to donate and to give, that pro-social behavior that we see, that kind of sense of wanting to do things that benefit others. I think, as you say, it's so innate in us, but sometimes it can get covered up by, you describe kind of socioeconomic things, or not having a direct connection to what it is that you'll want to sort of donate to, or not necessarily kind of trusting the systems and the processes.
But it makes you feel good, I think, being kind anyway. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a financial outlay. Just, I think, doing something nice or saying something nice even to somebody makes you feel as good as you make someone else feel, or as much as you're able to help with a donation, you feel good about giving it. I'm not saying there's ulterior motives, but there is always a benefit to the person that's giving as well as the person receiving. At Christmas, I love giving my presents more than I receive them. So I think it's good for your well-being as well to actually be kind as much as possible on a daily basis.
Yeah. And that's important to unravel as well, isn't it? Because we do often think about giving in terms of money, and if I can't give money, then I can't give anything. And yet we talk about the 3 T's of donation, don't we? Donating your time, donating your talent, and donating your treasure. So how do we get people to recognize this is not about giving up your treasures always? How else can you donate? What would you suggest to people listening?
Yeah. Well, I get people reaching out to me quite often on email and things, saying, I'm a singer. I'd love to offer my talent to one of your events, or, I'm a photographer and I'd love to cover one of your events with free photography if you've got any campaigns going. I'm always open to people contacting the Pink Ribbon Foundation and saying that they've got a skill set that we can use. Sometimes, because of the way that we're set up and the way that we operate, we can't always use every offer of help. And this is one of the things that, a lot of the companies that we work with, they like to have opportunities for their staff to go out and volunteer in centres and things like that. Obviously, we don't have that opportunity because we work from home and we provide the funding for the people that are doing those things. But we can put people in touch with different charities for sure. But I do rely on a lot of very talented people, not all the time, just as and when, the need of the charity arises. But definitely if someone's interested in, they have a skill set that they'd like to donate, that they can definitely reach out to Pink Ribbon Foundation. Our contact details are on the website, so we'd love to hear from people.
Yeah, and I'll pop them all on the show notes as well, because I think it's about the person, give a bit of you, and you never know who needs that as well, which is amazing. But tell me a little bit more about what Pink Ribbon do in terms of, because I know you offer grants and things to small charities. So how does that work?
So basically, we are a grant making foundation. And what that basically means is that we're raising money all year long to give it away. So we have our money coming in through two main areas, which is our corporate partnerships. So that's the companies that work with us on products or services that they make a donation to the charity every time they sell a product or a service.
Mm-hmm.
The other half of our money generally comes in through individuals that are raising funds. So that could be schools, work groups, organisations that are raising funds by having things like a pink day, baking cakes. We get people running marathons. We have people doing things like the Tough Mudder, skydiving, all of those kind of things. People get sponsored to do, and obviously then that money comes to us. So we then have a big pot of money that we give away every year to charities who work within the field of breast cancer. So we'll have charities all through the UK who will apply to us. Usually the cutoff, I think, is around the end of May. They'll let us know how much they want to apply for. Our great team of trustees, Jonathan, Liz and Angie, will decide based on lots of different factors what charities get support and how much they get. But to give you an example, we gave to 60 different charities last year. And the amounts that we donated ranged between £400 right up to £46,000.
Wow.
And the £46,000 grant was donated, £40,000 of it was donated by one family to our charity. It had been left in trust after someone's mother had passed away. And she'd supported us during her life, and she left a legacy for charities. And so the family gave us 40,000. The Pink Ribbon Foundation topped it up by another 6, and we donated the money to a brilliant charity called Something to Look Forward to. And it paid for a static caravan on a Park Dean resort by the seaside. And it means that that charity now are able to offer 48-week-long holidays to people that have been affected by breast cancer. So these people that are going through some terrible times with finances being tight and with treatment obviously happening, are then able to take their children away and their family away and have a nice week-long break. So that was one of the grants that we paid for, which everybody likes to hear that story, because the caravan now is owned by that charity, and those 48 weeks can be given every year, and they're booked out. I mean, the first time they opened the caravan, they were booked out for the whole 48 weeks already. So so it's nice. As I said, we as a charity don't do the frontline servicing, but the money that we give to the charities that we support does offer things like counselling, wig advice, alternative therapies, holidays, the printing of literature, all of that kind of thing. So very important services that people need when they're going through treatment.
Oh, of course. And it sounds as though it's so far reaching, because there's so much that you don't even know that you could have, or you could need, that you don't even know is accessible to you. And this way of just connecting all of that in the way that you're doing it is fabulous, actually, especially as you say, it's such a difficult time when there's so many other things to be thinking about, that time of cancer diagnosis and going through treatment. So no, that's an incredible story to share, and thank you for doing that. Gosh, you mentioned the skydiving as well. It took me back a bit, because
you've done a skydive as well.
I have indeed, but
I did one as well.
I was 18 then, and kind of, didn't even think twice about it, as you do when you're 18.
Yeah, no, I did mine in 2019, so in my 40s. And I did it for Pink Ribbon, and there was a few of us. And I don't know about you, but I think, well, at 18, it was like you say, you were probably impulsive and you've got no fear at 18. In your 40s, it's slightly different, and I have a child, so I was kind of talked myself into it. But I don't like heights, and I don't really like flying anymore. And obviously, as you get older, you're aware of your own mortality as well.
Sure.
But you know what? I highly recommend it. I wasn't scared at all.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true, isn't it? I remember the first thing I said is when I landed, my feet hit the ground, and I went, "Can I do that again?"
I didn't say that, but there were people that I were with that was like, "Get me back up there. I want to do it again."
Yeah.
But it's such a it's one of those bucket list things, isn't it? And people can jump for our charity. It doesn't cost them anything. Their fees are all paid as long as they reach a certain target of sponsorship, which is like, I think it's £300 in most of the airfields. You have to raise £300 for the charity. And if you raise that, your jump is free. There's money there for the charity. And if you raise more than 300, then all of that goes to the charity. And there's airfields all over the UK. So I highly recommend it.
Wow. Oh, you're really making me think, Lisa.
Do it again.
Do I want that thrill again? You and I might need to have a conversation. I mean,
Definitely.
I'd absolutely love to support what you're doing after what you've shared today, and it might mean falling out of a plane again.
Get some friends with you. Do it as a little group. It's nice. We organised a group last year. There was about 8 people. That all jumped on the same day, that we all kind of knew each other through the charity.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of camaraderie in it when you do it with other people that you know.
Yeah.
And I think when you do it for charity and you know that you're being sponsored and people are willing you on to do it, I think it's a lot better to do it that way, I think, than just doing it for no reason. I think if you can link it with a charity, it just gives it more purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, absolutely. At 18, I did it for the thrill. If I did it again,
of course,
there's a deeper sense, isn't there? So 100%. And you mentioned there's kind of, you're more aware of your own mortality. So here's a question for you, because obviously this is a health show, and on this show, I'm giving people ways to live as long as possible. So how long do you want to live, Lisa?
Oh, I wouldn't say forever. Definitely not. I'd like to get to 100. I'm actually, this is hard for me to even say, but I'm 50 in April. I'm turning 50 in April, which to me, even saying it just sounds like it's somebody else, because I don't feel it at all. And I always thought, it's like when you're young and you see someone who's 50 and you think, oh, you're so old. And I don't feel old at all. In my head, I probably still feel 20s, 30s. So when I say 50, I still don't think it's me I'm referring to. Yeah. But I'd like that to be kind of halfway. I'd love to live to 100. I'd like to live long enough, if I'm honest, to see my daughter. She's 18 in about 18 days, actually. And I'd love to see her settled, possibly married, maybe with children, potentially. But I'd like to see what she ends up doing. So I'd like to live long enough to see her in her midlife and what she's achieved and so on. But to live to 100, I think, would be nice. I don't think I'd want to live much longer than that.
Yeah, it does get you thinking, doesn't it? And it's really interesting what you say. So I turned 50 last year, so not many months ago as well. But I measure biological age in everybody, and in fact, I'd love to do this with you as well, because that sense.
No, my biological age is probably a lot older. My mental age is young. My body age is probably very old. I definitely don't look after myself as much as I should. I know. You know what it's like when you're busy all the time and you're always looking after other people and doing things. I'm always kind of like most women, I think. Yeah. Very low down on my list of priorities is me.
So here you are saying you want to live to 100, and in the same breath saying, but I don't take care of myself. So what are we going to do about that, Lisa?
I know.
So give me one thing that you're going to do differently.
Okay. So I do like walking. And I love going out for the day and walking. I just was recently on Monday in Brighton with my daughter. We did a lot of walking then, got some steps in. And we went to Cambridge on Saturday, did a lot of walking then. Where I struggle sometimes is to make sure that I get out for a daily walk, because my computer goes on very early in the morning. And I think to myself, I'll do it later. I'll do it this afternoon. I'll do it after I've had lunch. And then before I know it, I get busier throughout the day. It doesn't happen. Yeah. I turn my laptop off at 6:00 and then I'm sorting out dinner and so on. And I think sometimes I just need to not put things off and maybe do my walk first.
Yes, you see, and that's how habits work, right? So if you want to, you've already got a habit where you turn your computer on. At what time do you turn it on?
It depends. Sometimes it's really early, like 7:30. Sometimes it's 9.
Okay, so the way habits work, right? Because I think this will work really well with you, is that they kind of connect with each other, so you can layer them and stack them. It kind of you've got a really strong habit of turning your computer on. It happens without you even thinking
Yeah.
about it. So if you now attach a new habit that says, before I turn my computer on, I will do a 3 minute
Yeah.
walk, then that habit already gets added to a habit you've
Yeah.
already
Well,
got.
it wouldn't be a 3 minute walk. I would have to go out for at least 30 minutes. It literally would be an outside walk early in the
And you
morning.
do it.
Which,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's like most things, isn't it? You think to yourself, oh, I can't be bothered. It's raining. It's cold. But as soon as you've done it and you come back, even when it's cold, you come
You're
back
like,
and
right.
you feel invigorated, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it is that first step. But sometimes we go all or nothing, right? You can say, I'm either going for a 30-minute walk or I'm not going to do
Yeah.
anything. Which is why I said the 3 minutes. You've got to also think of that, your minimal effective dose, right? What's the smallest dose I'm going to do that gets me out
Yeah.
and gets me back without me going, I'll put it off.
I'll tell you what else I've got that I did love doing, and then you know what it's like. You'll do something for a little while, and it will almost become a habit, and then something will happen that throws that schedule out, and so then you don't
Yeah.
go back to it. I've got one of those rebounder trampolines.
Oh, yeah.
We
Yeah, yeah,
did
yeah.
some
Me
work with
too.
the company, and they gave me one. I feel really bad saying this.
Awesome.
They gave me one, and I did use it religiously for quite a while. And then something happened. I can't even remember what it was, but it messed with my timetable, and so I didn't go on it for a couple of days. And then a couple of days turned into a few weeks, and it's been a few months since I've been on it now. But that's so good for you, rebounding, isn't
It
it?
is.
Trampolining.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're getting kind of all that lymphatic movement going on in your calf muscles. You're getting that invigoration. You're building energy. Here's a question then: where have you put it? Where is that rebounder right now?
It's in my bedroom. Because it's a
Okay.
folding one. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. It's one that uses bungee ropes. So
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
springs, so you can
We've got the right
actually
right
use it
version.
just in socks. You don't have to put trainers on, and it folds in
Yeah,
half, and it's got its case. So it's
yeah,
flat. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not a tiny piece of equipment. It's quite large, but it's a
yeah, yeah.
semicircle. And it's probably about that thick, and it's in the case, and it's in my bedroom, and it's where I see it every day.
Exactly. So you've almost got to fall over it. Like you can't get out of
Yeah.
your bedroom and you're actually climbed onto it. So once you're on it, you're going to have to. But I completely get it. So we've got a rebounder as well, and we put it in the middle of the lounge. To be honest, we'd come down the stairs, see it first thing in the morning, and on you'd get on it. And then we had some tile work
Yeah,
done in the
yeah.
lounge, and so moved it. And once it was moved, exactly like you said, that kind of habit broke and it never kind of came back out. We put it back where it originally belonged, and then we're kind of back on it. So I think it's that. You've got to make it easy.
No, exactly. No, definitely. And I know that the trampolining is good. Like my mum used to do it quite regularly because she's got one at home, slightly different to mine. And what she used to do is she used to get on it when the adverts were on. So if she was watching
Yes.
something, and then because we know how
Yeah.
often now ITV put adverts on, they're like after short periods of time, and the adverts start becoming longer than the program. So
Yes.
she used to
Oh,
jump
so
on it
true.
every time there was an advert break. And it's surprisingly how quick you could do 40
Yeah.
minutes when you're watching a couple of
Yeah.
programs in the evening.
Going on.
Yeah. And she used to do
Yeah.
that religiously
Exactly.
every day. A little bit like me, she
Oh,
got out of the
brilliant.
habit, but I think she wants to start back up again.
Yeah, no. And these are great tips, aren't they? It's literally make it easy for yourself, create your environment for success so that there's nothing going to get in your way to doing it, and do it in small
Mm,
chunks because then all that additive effect makes a big
mm.
difference. And I love what you said about the walking as well, because everyone can
Yeah.
walk. And in terms of longevity and adding years to your life, there's a bit of research that showed it takes off 16 years off your biological age doing a bit of brisk walking
Wow.
every day. So there you are. You're not 50 at all this year,
No,
Lisa. Right?
exactly. It takes 16 years off me.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
creating habits. That's the thing, isn't it? And
Yeah.
bringing it back round to the breast cancer as well. That's a
Mm.
habit as well that people have to get into. Um, because there was a recent survey done with breast cancer now in YouGov, and they were saying that almost half of women, I think it was 47% of women, don't regularly check their breasts. So
Yeah.
again, that is a habit that has to be formed to make it a regular habit that you do every month. and
Yeah.
which can save your life, obviously.
And that's a huge statistic,
Yeah.
47%, isn't it? And I think we should just, pause on that for a second. 47% of women are not regularly self-checking. And yet we know that in terms of
Mm,
prevention, that is so, so
yeah.
key.
And,
It only takes a few
yeah.
minutes, but it's back to what you were saying. I don't have
Yeah.
time, or I'm not making this a
Mm.
priority.
Well, they were
So,
saying that I think there were a lot of reasons why people didn't do it. They forgot,
mm,
they didn't know how to do it, they didn't know if they were doing it right. And you yourself will know there isn't really a wrong way of doing it. There's
mm,
suggested ways, obviously, but if you're checking regularly and you're looking at your body regularly and you're feeling often, then
mm,
you'll know as soon as something that isn't right or that wasn't there last month appears. And so really it's that not doing anything, which is the
mm,
worst thing you can do, because as soon as you spot any signs that are new, that weren't there before, or that concern you, that's when you go and you make your appointment with the GP. And
yeah.
most breast cancers are picked up by individuals that are checking,
Mm.
because obviously, unless you've got some kind of family history, the mammograms don't kick in till 50. So I've got that letter to look forward to, which will be coming, I'm sure, soon. So it is important to obviously check yourself.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And the way I often talk to sort of my clients and patients about this is it's just about getting to know yourself and feeling interested
Mm,
in yourself, excited by yourself, get to know the way you think,
mm,
get to know the way your body is. And I think a lot of people find this kind of sometimes quite fearful. You don't want to be alone with yourself.
mm,
You don't want to feel those parts. You don't want to be alone with your thoughts. But think of it in a bit more of a kind of with a bit more of a curious state. Is I want to get to know
yeah.
myself more. I'm my own best friend.
Yeah, no,
That
it's
comes from
totally
whether
true.
it's physical or mental. It's all of that,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. And I mean, they say the shower is one of the best places to do it. So we
Mm,
partnered with a shower brand that do
yeah.
shower enclosures. So they put like a little pink ribbon sticker on their shower enclosures, and it's something that you see that just reminds you. I mean, we've got self check guides. I've just printed one actually, but we've got self check guides on our website, which people can download. But then when people
Brilliant.
buy our crystal brooches, which are in our shop, we send them out with a little A7 card. So it's a little bit bigger
Uh-huh.
than a credit card, laminated. And on one side is the self check guide, and on the other side is a little bit of information about the charity and a QR code in
Brilliant.
case they want to make a donation. But sticking those things up on the mirror or
Yeah.
on the fridge
Nice.
or whatever, just it's like you say. I keep looking at my rebounder and almost falling over it. And I know it's there. If you see
Yeah.
another reminder to do something else, you are more likely
Yes.
to do it, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this is how kind of your brain's wired. It needs the nudge. It just needs the trigger, and then everything else falls in place. So I love that idea of the little thing in the shower, the little pink ribbon
Yeah,
in the shower. Because if you also think about it, a lot of people get their best thoughts in the shower. Shower thoughts. You're really kind of not thinking about
yeah,
anything, and that's when you get your best ideas. And also that's when you spend time with yourself.
exactly. You've
So
got
get to know
soapy hands,
your
which are
body.
great for sort of checking all your boobs and under the arms and right up to the collarbone. So it's a definitely a good place to do it. And as I say, there's no really wrong way of doing it. It's just doing it and feeling yourself and remembering to do it often, and then not being scared if you do notice a change, to actually go and seek help, because it might not be cancer, but anything that you're worried about should always be explored, obviously.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. And thank you so much for raising that. And there's awareness months where we kind of heighten that awareness, but it's got to be all through the year, hasn't it? That sort of awareness and knowledge and action taking takes place as
No,
well. So
definitely. And we work with a lot of companies who do work with us year long. So they have
mm,
products, for instance, that are available all year long that make a donation. And obviously, there is always a spike of people that want to support during October's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But as I
yeah,
say to them, this is great, but also people don't get breast cancer just in October. So we have to raise awareness and money, obviously, all year long.
yeah.
So I'm glad to say that 90% of the brands that we work with do support us year long. And so every time their products are sold, every time they advertise their products, you know, our ribbon is there, our logo's there, there's money being donated. And it just makes people think about the charity all year long, which is so important.
Yeah, no, love that. Thank you so much, Lisa. I think you've shared so many great insights. You've sort of also lifted the fear and created some lightness about the conversations around breast cancer and around charity and donation, and keeping that alive, and keeping that awareness and activity alive as well. So any final message for listeners from you?
No, I would like to say thank you, obviously, to you for having me on and letting us share our story and talk about the charity. And if people are interested about what they can do, what we're up to, how they can support, they can obviously go onto our website and follow us on Instagram, for instance. There's a whole lot of stuff there to read and see and check out. So, yeah, keep in touch. And if anybody wants to reach out personally, I'm always very happy to hear from people.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. I'm going to put all of those links in the show notes. And you'll either find me and Lisa on our rebounder or out on a walk, or we might even be falling out of a plane.
Do you know
together.
what? I'm definitely speaking to you about that off air.
We'll do that. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wasn't that fun? Love Lisa. You just can't help but warm to her, can you? Now, interestingly, there is a fair bit of research on what makes people charitable. And there's been found to be 5 big personality traits that link to your charitableness. So these 5 traits, let me share what they are with you. These 5 traits are extroversion. Now, extroversion means you're outgoing and you're energizing. Second trait is agreeableness, which means you're compassionate and kind. There's conscientiousness, which means that you're focused and that you're dependable. Fourth trait, interestingly, is neuroticism, which is interesting because you can look at it in a positive way to mean that you're self-aware and that you're productive. And the 5th trait is openness, which means you're creative and imaginative. And I think that in just that single conversation with Lisa, you can see all of those traits. And another interesting thing is about generosity. Generosity is contagious. And again, I felt this in this conversation with Lisa. When you're around generous people, and as I did mention in my conversation as well, generous with time, talent, or treasure, you want to be more generous yourself. So that's what I want to explore on my next health hack episode next week. I'm going to be exploring the science of generosity. Is it genetic? Is there a nice gene? Or can generosity be learned? And what happens in your heart and in your head with acts of generosity? And what I'll also do next week is share some research on the link between generosity and longevity. Give more, live more. I'll see you next week. I wish you a health activating day.